You know, that's not only true in the United States, where there's enormous opportunity that has not even begun to be realized, but also in China, which, where they have set efficiency targets in the industrial sector of increasing efficiency by 20% by 2010. Very hard to achieve without very, you know, hard labor of getting every single guideline in place, creating the rules, doing the education all the way through the system so the opportunities of demand-side management are really understood. So in order to realize the opportunity that we have, which is at the least cost and can be delivered most rapidly in all these energy efficiency opportunities, we really have to undertake a very substantial education effort throughout society so that people realize that this is the greatest opportunity that we have in the shortest term, while some of these other strategies that Mr. Tanaka identified earlier, whether it's carbon capture and storage or the building of new power plants or whatever. The first and quickest and cheapest is energy efficiency, but it won't happen without the policies, and there are tremendous barriers to that right now. And I think this is an area where organizations such as mine can and do work with companies. We're working with DuPont and US Cap, we're working with Philips on setting lighting standards, but there needs to be a much greater effort. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Francis. We're talking a lot about public-private partnerships in other areas. Maybe here's one that has not been tapped enough. Thank you very much. We have had a very good input, very interesting input from the business side, innovation, new business models, opportunities. From the policy-making side, enabling framework, and the civil society support. I would like to start a discussion within the panel, and in the meantime, if you have, we have some time for questions from the floor. Oh, you have already, okay. Good, thank you. So Claude has already some questions from the floor, but I would like to bring up an issue that was maybe not discussed enough in this panel, but was mentioned earlier on by the three speakers, and that is the fact that most of the investment money needed to realize the potential for energy efficiency will come from the private sector. But a large proportion of it will go to industrialized countries. Where is the balance here with competition? I would like maybe to address the two business people on this issue.
Yeah. Maybe I'll try an attempt at answering that. I do think that this is one of the dilemmas, and that is internally in our company we were able to drive our investments based on their own merits. As the situation gets more complex, the need to interact across borders from north to south, among companies, between companies and governments, we do believe that there needs to be a policy framework to drive that same kind of innovation that we use to meet our internal goals. But the way to do that is to have the simplest possible market-facing incentives put in place that then lets the business environment, in fact, respond to them in such a way as to drive innovation in a targeted way. And so we do believe within our participation in US CAP that carbon trading or an equivalent mechanism needs to be put in place, and they need to be put in place quickly, because some of the timelines associated with the research to actually commercialize these technologies for the full benefit, you know, to take a considerable length of time, and if we're to meet some targets by 2015, those are really necessary. So our view is do this from the market back. Don't do it so it in fact creates that environment within the private sector that allows innovation to prosper.
Tracy, could I just address that for a second? Because you know, our experience is that that performance standards are critical, allowing companies to develop their own products. We have found both in promoting energy efficiency of air conditioners, promoting fuel efficiency of automobiles. Competition among different companies really does come to play, and it becomes a barrier in advancing public policy. So the designing performance standards that head everybody down the same road and aren't trying to pick one technology over another are critical to advancing the ball.
Thank you. That would link to public procurement as well, and competition, distorting competition. But before I turn to you, Herr, let me give Paul the opportunity to comment on this.
As far as our investments are concerned, indeed there are two ways which I would like to address. First is our internal energy efficiency that actually has no borders. Internally we have set the leadership. From our leadership, we have set targets how much efficiency, how much energy we would reduce over time, and we do that every 4 years. That will be done in all countries. If you look to the impact of our products, then first of all, there is an incentive for us to innovate, because at the end, providing products which use less energy is actually a basic consumer need. So there is incentive to invest in more energy efficient technologies. You have to do that across the world, and there will be different circumstances in different markets. The base in different markets is different. But I think the point is that a good policy framework would help to accelerate the adoption of the more energy efficient product, and it would also attract more investment in that area from an industry sector base.
Etienne, may I turn to you to comment on?
Yeah, no, I find myself in agreement with Paul very much, because essentially I think you need to do two things. One, you need to put a policy framework forward that frontally attacks the market failures that have been identified. You know, the principal agent problems, the asymmetric information, and thereby you create demand for more energy efficient products, and at the same time you generate significant economic savings. So that's one part of it. But the second part of it is that you need to create a framework that is also providing incentives going forward in a predictable, stable manner. And that is where I think these advanced performance benchmarks come in, which need to be incentivized, because there you're looking at products that are not yet economically feasible in terms of energy use. Their public procurement, which is worth 16% of the European economy, can play an important role. And there the fiscal system, in terms of providing incentives, can also provide an important incentive. I think that the challenge here is to create this dynamic incentivizing environment in a way that contains enough regularity and stability for industry to plan its product cycles, to plan its investment programs, to plan its R&D. And I think if we get that balance right, then I think public authorities would have made a significant contribution to uptake and innovation.
Yes, Klaus.
Yeah. So first of all, what we learned is that in principle, all kinds of instruments are already available. So we do not need a discussion on new instruments. So what we first of all learned is that there are, in principle, all kinds of instruments available, already available. So we do not need new instruments to develop. Second lesson we learned, there is no single solution. So we need much more tailored solutions to the individual problems. And a third lesson we learned, there are barriers beyond economic reasons. And I think we too much in the past focused on economic reasons. So if a house owner is more than 70 years old, he has not any intention to make an investment. So, and we have to overcome this. So, and I think we have to much more concentrate on those issues and to discuss their solutions to overcome these kind of problems.
That's a very good point. how do you do that in cooperation with the, you say you don't need any more tools, any more policy tools, but how do you overcome